about the 10 best players available in the 2024 NFL Draft. I love doing these sorts of things because it really is me taking a look at what happened in 2023, looking at the guys that decided to enter the draft and what seniors there are available. And it's not as deep as you might think through the middle and through the bottom, but the top is still very, very heavy. We had a number of players that decided to go back to college, given name, image, and likeness, rather than just go get the money in the NFL because it's there for them to get. That said, top 10 players, as I see it, my goodness, man, we are going to be in for a treat. So I'm going to start at number 10, kind of work a little bit quicker than I might normally because 10 is more than 5, which is what we normally do here. But LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels is at number 10 for me. He's also kind of an enigma, right? No, number one, he's 23 years old. For perspective there, Lamar Jackson turned 27 this year, right? Caleb Williams is 22. Drake May is 21. But that ain't the thing, really, that sets me back on Jayden Daniels and why he barely is here at number 10. It's that he was a good to decent quarterback for the first 4 years of his career. And then he had one of the best statistical seasons that anybody has ever had, particularly at the quarterback position. So given what we know about him, he's either Lamar Jackson or Johnny Manziel, right? Check this out. Daniels had never thrown for 3,000 yards in any of the 4 previous seasons to 2023. Then he dropped 3,812 pass yards. He threw 49 TDs in the first 4 years of his career. He threw 40 alone in 2023. He threw 10 interceptions in 2021 alone and threw just 4 in 2023. Then last year, this is the one that really cooked me. He rushed for 1,134 yards. That's about 300 more and a little less than 300 than the 890 that he rushed for in 2022. However, he averaged 8.4 yards per rush last year, and that's better than any average he had previously, which topped out about 6.2. If you are drafting Jayden Daniels, the question that you have to ask yourself is, which dude am I getting? Am I getting the dude that we saw for 4 years or the dude that we saw last year? And I reached out to my buddy Rob Rang on this. It covers the NFL draft for Fox. And I asked him about a couple of players, but Daniels was one of them. And he gave me his insight, and I told him I thought he was a top 10 player. He goes, that's a little spooky for me. I asked why? Because you got to take into account the wide receivers that he had at his disposal, both in 2022 and 2023. And I do, but given what we know about the quarterback position and what we know about the quarterback position in the NFL, it's really difficult for me to see a guy who was able to put what he did in 2023 on film and overlook him, precisely because there are guys that put stuff on film in 2022 that weren't so great in 2023 that still might actually get drafted before him. So it's really about doing your work and doing your due diligence if you're going to go get a Jayden Daniels. But he passes all of the character studies that you want to. He is outstanding. Everybody loves him, myself included, right? He is a great dude. And I think he's going to be good at whatever organization he ends up with. It's just about, is he a first-round quarterback? Because I look at Jayden Daniels and the way that people were really talking about what's going on in Green Bay, I think that you got a guy in Jayden Daniels who could basically have the same sort of trajectory where he's going to get there. You just got to give him some time. Maybe sitting behind someone that knows what they are doing. Number 9 on the list, got wide receiver Rome Odunze coming out of Washington. This was also difficult for me because that man was so prolific. 92 catches for over 1,600 yards, catch and pass from Michael Penix Jr. They go without Jalen McMillan for a time there. They play one of the toughest schedules that anybody played in 2023. They showed up to the national championship game 14-0, in large part due to him. If not for another wide receiver, I think we're talking about Rome Odunze being the Biletnikoff Award winner and no doubt first-round pick. And at 9, I think that's what he is. Best available, though, kind of takes a tank there because he showed against Michigan just what his limits might be. He is a great launch strider, and for the most part, he is great at the point of attack when catching the ball, but he can flip himself around, he can get ahead of himself, and in got-to-have-it situations against the best team in college football, he didn't quite have it. However, you put him into a receiving core where he's not the only guy doing all the work. I would love to see what happens with him. I think that drafting him, you're also going to get another character guy, and it would not shock me at all to see that Mike Macdonald decides to go and try to get one Rome Odunze, given who his offensive coordinator is. Ryan Grubb, who's offensive coordinator at Washington last year, obviously knows a lot about Rome. Put Rome on one side, put Jackson Smith and Jigba on the other, Tyler Lockett in the middle, DK Metcalf doing whatever DK Metcalf wants to do. Put Geno back there. That's a playoff team to me, right? I love looking at that team. I think that's pretty easy there. Number 8, I got Iowa defensive back Cooper DeJean. You know how much I love Cooper DeJean. I tried to put people on game last summer. Some of y'all took it. Some of y'all did not. The drawback for Cooper DeJean is the injury that he suffered in the middle of the year. But in as far as the most athletic and capable corner, safety, defensive back in this draft, I don't think there's anybody that could hold a candle to him. It's just whether or not he's coming back from that injury to be 100%. And is he still the same explosive kind of player that he was at Iowa? It's a guy that can run punts back, who could play will linebacker if you wanted him to, corner, safety, strong safety in the middle of the box. I think of him as another Minkah Fitzpatrick, maybe even a little bit faster. I think that if you are willing to take a swing on a guy coming off an injury, this is the dude to do it with. Number 7, I got Laiatu Latu, who has really been prolific for 2 straight years here at defensive end, playing at UCLA as basically the Jalen Phillips position of outside linebacker. But we got 2 seasons of 10 sacks or more out of him, 2022, 2023. And in both of those seasons, he had at least 2 forced fumbles. And then last year, he added 2 interceptions to what was a stat stuffer sheet for a guy that is every bit of 6'5", 265, right? I think that's a prototypical 3-4 linebacker. A lot of teams could use his particular skill set. If you see that the man can absolutely line up against a tight end and maybe hold his own, that's easy. That's easy money there because he does everything else you want an outside linebacker, defensive end type to do. He puts people on the ground. He wreaks havoc in the backfield. It's just, can he run with that tight end for that comeback, right? We'll find out. That's what the NFL Combine is for. That's what pro days are for. Okay. Number 6, I got Notre Dame offensive tackle Joe Alt. I think this is the most polished offensive tackle in this draft. There are some things that you cannot like about Joe Alt, but they all have to do with things he doesn't really have control over, like being big and tall, which means his center of gravity is not going to be that low. But I don't see that being the real impediment that others do because he's got great feet. He's got great hands. And we know what kind of offensive linemen come out of Notre Dame. And that dude is on the short list of one of the best that they are going to have in the draft the last 5 years. I think that's easy. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.